I used to share my recommendations in a form of a top 10 list or by platform, but starting this July 2022 edition, I thought of grouping them by genre instead. Most webtoons in general are under the romance genre, followed by the action genre. So, I'll group the new titles under these two or under the third one, which I will label as others. Many of my favorites are under the less popular genres like mystery, thriller, etc. So, just check the timestamps in the description section if you want to focus on a particular genre. But if you're a fan of multiple or almost all genres like me anyway, then it would be great if you watch the whole video. Thanks! Without further ado, let's proceed to the romance genre. There's a chance that you would adore these if you're a huge fan of something. For instance, Realta has the horoscope stuff. If you're a fan of the works by the creator of Princess Jellyfish, then you can't miss Do You Remember Me? And if you want something like a romance version of the Frankenstein classic, then you may like Love Me to Death. It will be something you cannot miss if you're a fan of Room of Swords because it's by the same creator. For those into LGBTQ plus romance, then you might find Console Her pretty interesting. It's unique compared to other girls' love stories I've read. There are tons under the romance fantasy genre with medieval Europe ambience. So many of them have tropes like regression or transmigration. These four aren't actually that great to be honest, but if you set your expectations low, they can be pretty entertaining. I find the father and the male lead in this one cute and amusing. I might like this one better if I see more signs of the female lead valuing her brother. I'll try to catch up on this one soon. These two are similar to the previous group, but they both happen to have male lead in the title. And their stories are also very similar. You see, in both titles, the female lead is trying to improve the life of the original male lead in the novel she transmigrated into. But I like them. I suppose I like it better when the female lead is more focused on taking care of the children instead of having a love life. Anyway, if you want something really unusual among the romance fantasy webtoons, this one is a nice example. But I was a little disappointed when I found out that the female lead is actually a regressor, while the male lead's mentality kinda reminded me of Soviet from the remarried empress. But I admit, this got me very intrigued and entertained at the same time. The male lead, which I disliked a lot, even happens to be the character who makes me laugh a lot too. Ugh, these complicated feelings are annoying. Hopefully, the later chapters will make me more engaged. Another series which I can't understand why I don't like much is Beatrice. It's quite popular and it doesn't even have the usual regression and transmigration stuff. But I'm not that hooked to it either. Maybe because the male lead appears boring? Or maybe because the female lead seems too nice? But I can't say it's bad either. I somewhat understand why it's pretty popular, but at the same time, I don't either. But I think this is still worth giving a try if you want a historical romance series without the usual romance fantasy tropes. These two also don't have the overdone tropes in recent romance fantasy webtoons, but they're not really popular. They may not have the usual regression and transmigration cliche, but they do have lots of the rest of the cliches. Reading these feels like I'm just reading them out of guilty pleasure. And that may indeed be the case. I just find them cute actually. Especially the Beast Emperor and I. Well, what I liked about this one is not even on the romance. I find it amusing when the Emperor's servants are teasing him or having headaches because of what he does. It's kinda like the relationship of Prince Heinrich and his right-hand man in The Remarried Empress. Among modern romances, these are okay. Not enough to get me hooked though. This one seems modern, but since it has advanced technology, I suppose it's more of under the sci-fi genre. The female lead here is blind, but she's not the absolutely helpless type. I can't help but be proud of her when she has her moments. The male lead's kind of frustrating though. Anyway, although this is newly released in TAPPYTOON, this isn't really new to me since I found out about it from Tapas. Or was it Pocket Comics? Never mind. And anyway, I really like this so far. But among all the romance titles that I've read in the past month, the one that I'm truly madly in love with is the Villainess's debut novel. Please don't let the title discourage you, because it almost did for me. It sounded like one of those usual villainous romance fantasy manhwa, but it's not. It's not even in a medieval setting. It began in historical Korean setting, then we jumped to the modern setting. The webtoon poster also makes it appear like it has the usual love triangle, but it's not really like that. It's more complicated than that. If you have completed or have read a lot of chapters of The Good Day to Be a Dog webtoon, their relationship is somewhat like that. Then the reincarnation stuff is different from the usual as well. It's more similar to the reincarnation concept in See You in My 19th Life. She also lived a lot of lives, and she's somewhat like cursed for it. Anyway, this is very entertaining. I kinda feared that the male lead would be a pushover, but thankfully, he's far from that. And also, oh, maybe I need to stop because I might end up accidentally mentioning spoilers. So you have to check it out if you're hungry for a good romance series. I cannot imagine it disappointing us. So go read, go read, go read, go read, go read, go read, go read. Alright, now time for some action. These are pretty interesting, but for some reason I couldn't read more. Just not my cup of tea, I guess. Too bad, it's seldom to see webtoons about firefighters, and I really like the art on this one. This one almost became my favorite even, but it just had to become disappointing later. But if you don't mind what happened, starting around chapter 4 I think, then I suppose you'll be good with this. This one, I think I only read because of the bromance at the beginning. But the more chapters I read, the more I lose interest. Then these two feel like a copy-paste of one another. The main characters were overpowered heroes but were somewhat mistreated. After some important battle to save the world, everyone thought they died. But in reality, they had time traveled into the future. Thanks to that, they get to retain their youth, unlike their best friend, who is now much older and has a grown-up kid who is closer to the MC's age. I like the bromance, but I feel like that's the only thing that keeps me going on these two series. The main characters in these webtoons just become more and more overpowered as you read more chapters. It's ridiculous. Oh well, they are somewhat entertaining, so okay, I might keep going for a bit. This also has plenty of the usual action fantasy tropes, but what I liked about this webtoon is that the mother here did more compared to her counterparts in other series at least. You know, not just being sick or getting hurt, but this one did it better. There are plenty of action fantasy main characters who have a younger sister. But this one is one of the rare ones wherein the sister has actual involvement in the story. You know, not just someone who needs to be rescued or looked after in one arc, then forgotten later. In other words, like an extra to give bonus points for the MC for being someone who loves his family. The sister here can grow on her own and has contributed in the main character's growth as well. So, she's decent. And yes, Among the action webtoons released in the past month, Slumbering Ranker is among my top recommendations. The main character is not the type I would adore a lot, but I didn't find him boring either. He kinda reminds me of the MC in Mystic Musketeer. No matter how lucky and overpowered they have become, they deserve it. Speaking of overpowered abilities, this Webtoons MC has the coolest skills. It's amusing to see his skills that are related to sleeping. That desire to sleep as much as we want. Can relate much. Now, for those which aren't exactly romance or action-centric, these fantasy or supernatural series are pretty interesting. This one had a very interesting premise, but for some reason, I don't like the characters much. It's the same with this group, wherein the stories are indeed unique and interesting, but there was no character that I feel attached to. The titles I showed earlier are really good, and I think they deserve to gain some attention, even if I didn't become a huge fan of them. But it's different for the next group. The succeeding titles that I will be mentioning from this point forward are those I really like and highly recommend. So, they're not just good and interesting stories, but they have very charming characters too. This one is under the entertainment industry. The talent manager is gonna have his own band with the help of a former idol who is very arrogant but also dead. It has a similar premise as Long Live the Drama King, but that one's more focused on movies, while Superstar Associate Manager is more on the music. The interactions of the main duo are amusing. This is very cute. You have to at least give it a try. Next is Heavenly Eats, and it's more than just about some supernatural restaurant making food deliveries to humans. This is quite philosophical as it questions the true meaning of happiness and its different forms to different kinds of people. I love that although it's a little episodic, the series manages to make them connected without forgetting its main story. It has a unique take on angels and demons. The son of God here was like a spoiled brat, while the son of the demon is more composed. Kinda ironic. But what's cool is that they're actually friends. I don't mind if they end up as love rivals too, but I ship the demon guy to the female lead more. Anyway, I might end up fangirling on this too much. So let's move on to the next one, which is Coffin Jackson. If you're into crime thrillers with gangster and gore stuff, this would be so much fun. Yeah, it seems dark, serious, and gruesome, but the side characters are actually freaking hilarious. You cannot miss this if you're also into dark humor. This is a very intriguing and entertaining read. Thriller fans hungry for good stories and fun character dynamics cannot miss this. Last but not the least, it's my favorite among the new thrillers released recently. It's Noise from Upstairs. The main character appears to be a loser and a pushover who is physically and verbally abused a lot. But you know what? As you read more chapters, he's becoming more and more terrifying. You'll get what I mean when you start reading it. He makes you doubt what his true personality is. That mystery, that uncertainty, the webtoon that gives you the chills. That makes a good thriller, right? I love the psychological and kick-ass stuff in this webtoon. But I suppose my favorite in this series is the main character's girlfriend and their wholesome relationship. No stupid misunderstandings. There is trust, there is loyalty, no stupid romance drama. Thank you. And she rocks. It must be why they became a couple. They are both wacky and twisted in their own way. Anyway, this series overall is so amazing and entertaining. It's sadly underrated though, but I think it's worth to daily pass. And if you can afford it, all those coins too. I've been using my free coins. Alright, that's all for this batch. Of course, there will be more next month. So I would highly appreciate it if you could click the subscribe button so that you can get notified for new webtoons from different official platforms. I hope I had helped you discover a new favorite. Please also like, share, and comment if you had enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching and hope to see you again. Take care!